May 21, 1943. Attu Island, Aleutian chain. The forward aid station is a wound in the earth. A 75-yard-long scar of frozen mud, shredded tundra, and blood-soaked canvas scraped into a shallow depression on a slope called Engineer Hill. Corporal Desmond Doss, 77th Infantry Division, 307th Infantry Regiment, 1st Battalion, Medical Detachment, hears the silence first. It is wrong. It is a vacuum. The constant shriek of wind over the 2,000-foot peaks has ceased. The lull in the Japanese artillery fire is not relief. It is the intake of breath before the scream. He lifts his head from the chest of a shivering private, his stethoscope cold against his own ear, and he feels it. A low-frequency tremor through the soles of his boots. Not shells. Movement. Massed movement. 300 yards down the fog-choked draw, the first scream tears the silence. Not American. A banshee shriek of Banzai. It is answered. Then 1,000 throats answer. A tidal wave of sound, rage, and desperation rolls up the slope. The midnight assault has begun. The entire remaining force of Japanese soldiers on Attu, nearly 2,000 men, is charging the American lines in a final, suicidal eruption. Doss's hands, already moving, tie off the field dressing on the private's shoulder. His fingers are numb. The temperature is 19 degrees Fahrenheit. The mud is a gelatinous, freezing paste. He doesn't look up. He doesn't need to. The geography of the horror is already mapped in his mind. The aid station is positioned 30 yards behind the crumbling main line of foxholes. It is a death trap. A shallow bowl with a single escape route up the rear slope. A 45-degree incline of slick, unstable tundra. And between that safety and the wave of bayonets now materializing from the fog stand only thin, terrified lines of exhausted GIs. A machine gun, a .30 caliber Browning, opens up from the left flank. Its staccato rhythm is instantly swallowed by the human tsunami. The fog lights up with muzzle flashes. American rifle fire, a desperate, sparking fence trying to hold back a forest fire. Grenades thump. The air thickens with the smell of cordite, wet wool, and the coppery tang of fear. Doss stands. He is a lean, wiry man of 23. His uniform bears no rifle. On his left sleeve, the medical corps insignia. On his chest, a small, well-worn Bible in a pocket over his heart. His eyes scan the carnage about to engulf him. 75 wounded men lie around him in the mud. They cannot run. They cannot fight. They are his charge. The memory hits him, not as a thought, but as a sensory ghost. The smell of pine resin and Virginia clay, not Arctic rot. The drill instructor's face, purple, an inch from his own. You are a parasite, Doss. A coward. You will cost men their lives. The weight of the M1 Garand they tried to force into his hands. The cold steel felt like a sin. His own voice, quiet but unyielding, echoing in the Carolina heat. I'll serve, sir. But I won't kill. I'll be a medic. The laughter from the ranks. The constant harassment. The thrown boots in the night. The name they gave him. The preacher. The certainty that he would be left behind on the first day of combat. The certainty in his own soul that he would not. The first Japanese soldier breaches the line. He is a specter in tattered green, frost on his mustache, eyes wide with a final, fatal clarity. He vaults over a foxhole, his Arisaka rifle bayonet leading, and plunges into the perimeter of the aid station. Doss does not freeze. He moves laterally, placing his body between the attacker and a cluster of wounded on litters. His hand goes not to a weapon, but to his kit. The Japanese soldier's eyes lock on him, on the Red Cross brassard. The soldier hesitates for a fraction of a second, a cultural, instinctual pause at the symbol. It is all the time Doss needs. He ducks as the bayonet thrusts, feels the wind of it part the air by his temple. He shoves a litter with his hip, sending it, and its occupant sliding in the mud, out of the kill zone. A rifle shot cracks from a foxhole. The Japanese soldier jerks and falls. The medic does not pause to see. He is already crawling to the next man. The defensive line is no longer a line. It is a series of isolated, furious islands in a raging sea. The Banzai charge is not tactical. It is a force of nature, a blur of swinging swords, bayonets, and grenades. American positions are overrun. Hand-to-hand fighting erupts in the fog, shadows grappling and dying in the mud. The aid station is now the front line. Doss's world shrinks to a calculus of meters and seconds. A lieutenant with a stomach wound, 20 yards to his front, exposed. A sergeant with a shattered femur, 15 yards to his left, behind a slight rock outcrop. The safe ground, the rear slope, is 50 vertical yards away up the near-vertical, unstable hillside. He cannot move them all. He must move them all. Hold on. His voice, high and clear, cuts through the din. He isn't sure who he's talking to. The wounded. Himself. God. He scrambles to the lieutenant, dragging him by the straps of his webbing. The ground is too exposed. A bullet snaps past, so close he feels the heat wake on his cheek. He changes direction, angling for a shell crater. His mind works the problem. Asterisk single hull evacuation is impossible. You must create a system. You must triage motion. Asterisk he reaches the crater, lowers the lieutenant. His eyes measure the slope. He remembers the rope. His combat training had included knots, how to secure a litter. The others had joked about him practicing his Boy Scout skills. Now his fingers, stiff with cold, work with a speed born of pure necessity. He finds a discarded rifle, jams it into the frozen ground at a 40-degree angle as a dead man anchor. He loops his rope, 50 feet of stout manila, around it, testing the purchase with 2 sharp tugs. He is not a soldier. He is a rigger, an engineer of salvation. The first patient is the sergeant with the femur. Doss fashions a hasty harness from a second belt and webbing. He loops the rope under the man's arms. I've got you. The sergeant, pale from shock and pain, nods, teeth gritted. Doss braces his boots against a tussock of grass, leans back into the rope, and begins to walk backward up the 45-degree incline. The mud sucks at his boots. The rope burns through his palms, even through his gloves. He digs in, heel by heel, breath steaming in ragged gasps. The sounds of battle below are a hellish orchestra. The ping of M1 clips ejecting, the deeper thump of grenades, the screams in 2 languages. He does not look back. His entire universe is the weight on the rope, the next 6-inch gain of slope, the trembling in his thighs. He reaches the military crest of the hill, a slight defilade just below the actual summit. A stunned rifleman from a reserve platoon helps haul the sergeant the last few feet. Doss doesn't speak. He tosses the rope back down into the fog and the fury, and half runs, half slides back down the slope on his heels, arriving in a controlled crash at the lip of the crater. The next trip, and the next. Each descent is a journey into a worsening inferno. Japanese infiltrators are everywhere. He passes within 5 yards of 2 enemy soldiers huddled over a captured American machine gun. He crouches in a stream of freezing runoff, his heart hammering against his ribs at 140 beats per minute, his breath held until they move on. He treats a man with a sucking chest wound under the light of a burning ammunition crate, slapping the Vaseline-coated gauze on the hole, hearing the welcome hiss of air sealing. He drags a corporal with a concussion away from a fighting position just before a knee mortar shell obliterates it, the concussion pressing his body into the mud. Time dissolves. It is measured in trips, in feet of rope, in heartbeats. On the 12th ascent, a Japanese sniper, hidden in a rock cleft 70 yards to the east, spots his repetitive movement. The first round, a 6.5 mm Arisaka round, kicks up mud a foot to his right. Doss drops flat, the wounded man on the rope gasping below him. He counts. Asterisk 1 Mississippi. 2. Asterisk the sniper is methodical, conserving ammunition. He has 3, maybe 4 seconds between shots to re-aim. Doss waits for the next report, then is up, hauling with a burst of adrenaline-fueled strength, moving in a frantic, zigzagging climb. The next round parts the air where his shoulder had been. He develops a rhythm, a terrible, efficient ballet. Down the slope in a controlled slide. Secure a man. Harness him. Signal to a less wounded soldier to help with the initial lift. Then the climb. The rope becomes a slick, bloody lifeline. His hands blister, then tear. The pain is a distant signal, like static on a radio. His muscles scream. His lungs burn in the thin, cold air. He prays. Not with words. With each planted foot. With each pull of the rope. Asterisk Lord, let me get one more. Just one more. Asterisk. The court-martial papers. The threat of a dishonorable discharge. The lonely stand in the orderly room, facing his battalion commander. Son, Your own men say you're unfit. They don't want you. Doss, standing stiffly, his voice unwavering. Sir, I believe my duty to God and my duty to country both require me to serve as a medic. I will not train on Saturday, the Sabbath, but I will be there for my men when the bullets fly. The disbelief, the scorn, the last-minute reprieve, a reluctant endorsement from his father, a veteran of the Great War. The cold comfort of being allowed to be a target, not a shooter. Asterisk. A new sound rises, the whoosh crump of American 60mm mortars from the rear. Counter-battery fire. Shells begin to walk into the Japanese rear areas. The Banzai charge, having failed to instantly overrun the hill, is losing its cohesive fury, breaking into scattered, frenzied knots of resistance. But for the men in the aid station bowl, it is still a closed arena of death. The fighting descends into a brutal, yard-by-yard brawl. Doss sees a Japanese officer, sword raised, cut down by 3 GIs firing their M1s from the hip. He sees an American flamethrower operator stumble, his tank pierced by rifle fire, becoming a writhing human torch. Doss is on his knees, checking the pulse of a man who will not be moved again, when he sees the grenade. It is a Type 97, a small, dark egg, tumbling end over end through the fog. It lands with a soft thud in the mud 4 feet from a litter holding 2 wounded men. There is no time for shouts. No time to throw it. Doss lunges forward, his body a horizontal dive. He kicks out with his boot, a desperate, soccer-style swipe. His toe connects with the grenade. It arcs away, into a shallow drainage ditch. It explodes. The concussion slams into him, a physical wall of dirt and sound. Shrapnel whistles overhead. Mud and rock fragments pepper his back. His ears ring with a high, piercing whine that swallows all other sound. He is deaf. The world is now a silent, slow-motion nightmare. He pushes himself up, looks at his hands. They are shaking. A fine, uncontrollable tremor. He clenches them into fists. The shaking stops. He turns. The 2 men on the litter are staring at him, their mouths open in silent screams he cannot hear. They are alive. He works now in a bubble of silence. The screams, the gunfire, the explosions, all are muted, distant throbs. He reads the battle through his feet, through the vibrations in the ground. He sees a squad of Americans counterattacking, clearing a bunker with flamethrowers, the liquid fire painting the fog in grotesque, rolling orange blossoms. He sees the Japanese line begin to falter, to pull back into the ravines. The immediate pressure on the aid station slackens by a single, imperceptible degree. But his task is not done. The slope is still littered with men. He makes trip after trip into the silent hell. His body is a machine running on faith and failing sinew. On what he later estimates is his 20th ascent, he encounters a new problem. The rope, frayed by rock and friction, begins to show white, broken fibers 6 feet from the anchor. A weak point. If it snaps on a climb, the man below falls 50 feet down a rocky slope. He has no replacement. His solution is purely physical. He adjusts his technique. Now, on each climb, he wraps the rope around his own torso, taking the direct strain on his back and legs, using his body as a living pulley to reduce the stress on the frayed section. The pain in his shoulders becomes a white-hot fire. Asterisk another flashback, brief and brutal, the transport ship to the Aleutians. The roaring, green sea. A fellow medic, a cynical New Yorker, handing him an extra roll of gauze. Here, preacher. You'll need it. The rest of us will be busy shooting back. Not malice. A genuine, grim belief in the inevitability of Doss's failure. The look in the man's eyes said it all. You will be a burden. You will be the one we have to save. Doss had just nodded, taking the gauze. Thank you. Asterisk. On the 25th trip, he is harnessing a captain with a leg full of shrapnel when a sudden, close-range firefight erupts 10 yards to their right. 3 Japanese soldiers have infiltrated through a gully. A bar gunner cuts them down, but not before a stray round, a ricochet, tears through the meat of Doss's left calf. It feels like a sledgehammer blow. He grunts, buckling to one knee. He doesn't inspect it. He doesn't have time. He feels the warm blood instantly soak his pant leg, mixing with the freezing mud. He finishes securing the captain's harness. Going to be a bumpy ride, sir, he mutters, his voice thin in his deafened ears. He takes the rope. The leg screams in protest with every step. He ignores it. The leg is not part of the decision. It is just damaged equipment. He climbs. The rhythm is everything now. Descent. Harness. Climb. Repeat. The wounded men look at him with a dazed, reverent terror. Some whisper prayers as he secures them. Others are unconscious, their fate entrusted entirely to his breaking body. He passes the same landmarks on each terrible circuit. The jagged rock that tears his jacket, the frozen corpse of a GI, he must step over each time. The peculiar, ice-encrusted bush that marks the halfway point on the slope. His world has become this circuit. This Sisyphean hell of mud, rope, and blood. Dawn is not a sudden event. It is a slow, gray dilution of the darkness. The fog shifts from black to charcoal to a dismal, oppressive white. The shapes on the slope become clearer. The dead, the discarded weapons, the churned earth. The sounds of battle have changed. The massed screaming is gone. Now it is the sporadic crack of a sniper's rifle, the occasional burst of a Thompson submachine gun clearing a pocket. The main force of the Banzai charge has spent itself against the hill. The counter-attacking American companies are now mopping up. But for Doss, the mission parameters have not changed. There are still men down there. The gray light reveals 3 more wounded in a hollow heat mist in the dark. His body is at its absolute limit. The gunshot wound in his calf is a throbbing, stiff mass. His hands are raw meat. His lungs rasp with every breath. On what he later estimates is his 30th ascent, his legs finally, completely, give out. He collapses to his knees 10 yards from the crest. The weight of the man on the rope, a big, heavy mortar man, threatens to pull him back down the entire slope. He digs his fingers into the frozen earth, nails breaking. He cannot breathe. He cannot see straight. The gray world tunnels into black around the edges. This is it, a quiet voice says in his mind. You can't. Then a figure appears above him. Then another. Riflemen from the reserve platoon, seeing the strange, repeated pilgrimage through the dawn. They grab the rope, they grab the webbing on his shoulders, and they haul both medic and patient the final, impossible distance over the crest. Doss lies on his back in the safe dirt, chest heaving, staring at the whitening sky. He cannot move. He can only breathe. For a long time, he just exists. The ringing in his ears is a constant cathedral bell. Someone puts a blanket over him. Someone else tries to examine his leg. He pushes the hand away, points weakly back down the slope. More down there. But the riflemen are already going over, following the path of his rope, finding the last few wounded. It is fully light, a cold, clear Aleutian morning, when the last wounded man is brought over the crest. The Battle of Engineer Hill is over. The Japanese charge has been broken, their forces annihilated. The slope below is a tableau of frozen, tangled forms, hundreds of them, already glazed with a morning rime of frost. Desmond Doss sits on a rock, his back to the victory. A medic from another company has cut away his pant leg and is wrapping the gunshot wound. Doss is pouring the last water from his canteen over his ravaged hands, washing away the mud and blood in pink, swirling rivulets. The trembling in his hands has finally stopped, replaced by a deep, total numbness. Around him, the 75 men he saved are being loaded onto jeeps and litters for evacuation. A low murmur hangs over them, the sound of pain, relief, and shell-shocked silence. A captain from battalion headquarters, his parka streaked with grime and his eyes red raw from exhaustion and awe, walks up. He looks at Doss. He looks at the rope, still anchored to the rifle, leading down into the fading fog like a thread from a labyrinth. He sees the bloody, torn path worn into the hillside, a single set of tracks going down, and a deep, dragged groove coming up, repeated dozens of times. Corporal. The captain begins, his voice hoarse. He stops. He tries again. The men are saying you brought every last one up. By yourself. He gestures weakly at the slope. How in God's name did you do that? Doss looks up. His eyes are the oldest part of him, set in a face pale with exhaustion and loss of blood. He doesn't have an answer. The question seems to come from a different world, a world where such things could be explained. He shakes his head slowly. His gaze drops. He sees his small, mud-caked Bible lying in the dirt by his boot, where it had fallen from his pocket during the long night. He bends, wincing at the pain in his back and leg, and picks it up. He wipes the cover clean on his less bloody sleeve with a slow, deliberate tenderness. He doesn't open it. He simply tucks it carefully back into the pocket over his heart, patting it once. He looks back at the captain, then past him, at the wounded being carried away. His voice, when it finally comes, is cracked and barely audible over his deafness. "I just kept thinking," he says, almost to himself. "Lord, help me get one more." The hill is quiet now, save for the moaning wind and the distant cries of gulls riding the thermals over the carnage. For the first time in 12 hours, he hears them. Like and subscribe this channel WW2 Records Maker for more updates related WW2.